The refugee ship appeared on sensors at 0300 hours. The Zytheran refugee ship, Sanctuary's Hope, drifted into human space with failing engines and 3,000 terrified civilians. Lieutenant Sarah Chun was 3 hours into her watch aboard the human patrol frigate Mercy's Gate, running routine scans of the outer reach territories when a contact blazed across her display. Big, slow, leaking plasma from a failing containment core, and broadcasting a distress signal in 17 different languages. Contact bearing 270, range 40,000 clicks, she called out, her voice steady from years of practice. Configuration matches Zytheran civilian transport. Heavy damage to propulsion and life support systems. Captain Marcus Webb materialized beside her station, coffee in hand, wearing the expression of a man who'd stopped being surprised by anything years ago. He was 53. Looked 70. The war had aged everyone who survived it. Zytherians, he said quietly, not quite a question. Yes, sir. 3,000 biological signatures. 90% civilian. The rest appear to be security or ship's crew. Sarah paused. They're fleeing the Crothy Purge in Sector 9. Webb's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. Sarah had learned to read those micro-expressions. This one meant memories. Bad ones. Hail them, he ordered. Arya's holographic form shimmered into existence at the communication station, her evolved consciousness now sophisticated enough to show genuine concern. Captain, they're terrified. I'm reading stress hormones through their hull plating. They know this is human territory. Of course they do, Webb murmured. That's why they're afraid. Sarah felt her own hand drift toward her sidearm. A phantom movement she'd repeated 10,000 times during the border wars. Zytherians, the species whose hive mind fleets had descended on humanity's outer colonies like locusts, who'd glassed Europa, who'd killed 40 million humans before humanity learned to fight back hard enough to make them stop, who'd killed her brother at Titan Station. She forced her hand back to the console. They're responding, Arya said. Audio only. They're asking for sanctuary, offering to surrender their weapons, promising not to. She paused, something like pain flickering across her holographic features, promising not to hurt anyone. The bridge went silent. Every human on watch had fought in the wars. Every single one had lost someone to Zytheran plasma fire or hive ship bombardments. Sarah could feel the tension, the old reflexes screaming to power weapons, to make them pay. Extend docking protocols, Webb said. His voice carried the weight of command that came not from rank but from having made impossible decisions so many times that even impossible became routine. Medical teams to stand by. Engineering crews prepared to assist with their containment core. And someone tell them. He paused, staring at the view screen where the damaged ship grew larger, limping toward them like a wounded animal seeking shelter from predators. Tell them they're safe here. Sarah's throat tightened. Sir, permission to speak freely. Always, Lieutenant. They glassed Titan Station. They killed 300,000 civilians. I know. Webb's eyes never left the view screen. I was there. Lost my wife and daughter in the first wave. Sarah felt like she'd been punched. She'd known Webb was a veteran, had known he'd seen combat, but she'd never asked, never pushed. That was the unspoken rule among survivors. You didn't excavate each other's graves unless invited. Then why? Because someone has to stop. Webb turned to face her, and Sarah saw something in his eyes that made her chest ache. Not anger, not even sadness, just exhaustion, the kind that went bone deep. The war ended 3 years ago, Lieutenant, but it only really ends when we decide it does. He moved to the communications console. This is Captain Marcus Webb of the human vessel Mercy's Gate. Sanctuary's Hope, you are cleared for emergency docking. We will render all possible assistance. You have my word. No harm will come to you here. Arya translated the message into Zytheran harmonic frequencies. The response came back immediately, the alien voice pattern translating through the ship systems. Human ship, we do not understand. We destroyed your colonies. We killed your people. I know what you did. Webb interrupted gently. We all know. But right now, you're not warriors. You're refugees. And we remember what that's like. The docking bay was organized chaos. Medical teams assembled with practiced efficiency, setting up triage stations. Engineers prepped repair equipment. Security personnel took positions, not threatening, but present, just in case. Sarah stood among them, watching the Zytheran ship couple to the docking clamps. Her sidearm felt heavy on her hip. Unnecessary, probably, but 15 years of war had taught her that probably got people killed. You okay? The voice belonged to Sergeant James Rodriguez, a combat veteran who'd lost an arm and an eye in the siege of Proxima. His cybernetic replacements whirred softly as he checked his rifle. Define okay, Sarah muttered. Fair point. Rodriguez laughed, but it was hollow. Never thought I'd be welcoming Zytherians aboard. Thought I'd be shooting them until one of us was extinct. War's over, Sergeant. Yeah. He tapped his cybernetic eye. Someone should tell that to my nightmares. The airlock cycled. Atmosphere equalized. The doors opened. Sarah's hand moved to her weapon. But what emerged wasn't an invasion force. It was families. Zytherian civilians. Their insectoid bodies marked with stress patterns. Chitinous plates dull from malnutrition. Carrying younglings that made soft clicking sounds of distress. They froze when they saw the humans. For a moment, nobody moved. Two species that had tried to annihilate each other, now separated by 20 meters of docking bay and an ocean of blood. Then Dr. Amara Okonkwo stepped forward, a civilian physician who'd volunteered for frontier duty after losing her entire family in the wars. She approached the nearest Zytherian, a female carrying two small younglings. Hey, Amara said softly, keeping her hands visible. You're hurt. May I help? The Zytherian's mandibles quivered. Its telepathic voice trembled through the translation matrix. You are human. We killed your kind. Why would you? Because they're children, Amara interrupted gently, gesturing to the younglings. And I'm a doctor. That's all that matters right now. The Zytherian's stress pattern shifted. Confusion, fear, desperate hope. Slowly, it extended one of the younglings toward Amara. The doctor took the small creature with practiced care, examining it with instruments that hummed softly. Dehydration, malnutrition, nothing we can't fix. She looked up at the mother. I'll take care of them. I promise. Sarah watched more humans step forward. Engineers moving to help with the ship. Logistics officers coordinating food distribution, modified for Zytherian biology, analyzed from old war-era intelligence that had been used to target their supply lines and now repurposed to keep them alive. It was the most human thing she'd ever seen, and it broke something inside her. She found Captain Webb in observation deck 3 hours later. He stood alone, watching through the viewport as human and Zytherian engineers worked together on the refugee ship's containment core. The old soldiers staring at something that shouldn't exist. Cooperation where there'd been only killing. Can't sleep either? Sarah asked. Webb smiled faintly. Haven't slept properly in 15 years, Lieutenant. Why start now? She moved to stand beside him. I keep thinking about Titan. About my brother. He was on the evacuation ships when the Hive Fleet arrived. Her voice cracked slightly. They didn't even let the civilian transports get clear before they started firing. I know. Then how can you? She gestured to the viewport. How can you do this? Help them? After everything. Webb was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of every life he'd failed to save. After the war ended, I went back to Earth. Tried to, live. Went to the memorial gardens where they planted trees for everyone who died. Found my wife's tree. My daughter's. Sat there for 6 hours trying to figure out what to do with all this. He tapped his chest. All this rage I'd been carrying. What did you figure out? That rage is easy. Rage is what got us through the war. But it's poison for peace. He turned to face her. Sarah, I could kill every Zytherian in the galaxy and it wouldn't bring back my family. It wouldn't heal anything. It would just create more people like me, broken, haunted, unable to let go. So we just forgive them. No. His voice hardened. We never forget. We carry our dead with us. But we also decide what we do with that weight. He looked back at the viewport. Those refugees, they didn't choose this war any more than our civilians did. They're victims of the same thing we were. Leaders who thought violence would solve everything. Sarah felt tears burning her eyes. I don't know if I can do this. Be merciful. Mercy isn't about them, Lieutenant. It's about us. About what kind of species we want to be when we finally have the power to choose. Webb's expression softened. The galaxy is watching. They saw us fight, saw us win. Now they're waiting to see what humanity does with victory. What do you want them to see? I want them to see that we're not conquerors, that we don't become the thing we fought against. He paused. I want them to see that humanity can end cycles instead of perpetuating them. 3 days later, the Sanctuary's Hope prepared to depart. The Zytheran ship's containment core had been repaired, life support upgraded, medical supplies and food loaded, enough to reach the neutral zones where refugee processing centers operated. Sarah stood in the docking bay one final time, watching the civilians prepare to leave. Children playing with human crew members. Families exchanging contact information through translation matrices. Veterans from both sides, sharing quiet moments that didn't need words. The Zytheran elder approached Captain Webb, its ancient form moving slowly, deliberately. Captain, it said through telepathic translation. Our hive mind has processed what occurred here. We do not understand it. What don't you understand? We came expecting death. We received life. We came carrying guilt. You gave us grace. The elder's mandibles trembled. What have you become? The humans we fought were desperate, savage, willing to do anything to survive. This, it gestured at the bay, at the cooperation, the healing. This is not the humanity we knew. Webb smiled that sad, tired smile that Sarah had learned meant he was looking at ghosts. We became exactly what we had to become to survive the war. Ruthless, efficient, willing to do terrible things to protect our own. He paused, but we also promised ourselves that if we survived, if we made it through, we'd remember why we were fighting in the first place. And why was that? Not for conquest, not for revenge. We fought so that someday, maybe we could live in a galaxy where children, any children, human or otherwise, didn't have to grow up learning to hate before they learned to walk. The elder was silent for a long moment. Then, we do not deserve this kindness. Probably not, Webb agreed quietly. But that's the point. Mercy isn't something you earn. It's something you give, even when, especially when, it's hard. Even when every instinct screams for vengeance. The galaxy will think you weak. Webb's expression hardened just slightly. Let them. We've already proven we're not. Now we're proving we're something more. Arya materialized beside them, her holographic form more solid than ever, her evolved consciousness showing clear motion. The Sanctuary's Hope is ready for departure, Captain. Webb nodded. Safe travels, Elder. And when you reach the neutral zones, tell them what you found here. What should we tell them? Tell them humanity is tired of war. Tell them we're looking for an ending. He paused. And tell them that we'll defend ourselves without hesitation if attacked. But we'll also extend mercy without hesitation if asked. The elder's stress patterns shifted to something that might have been respect. Or hope. We will carry this message, though I fear few will believe it. Then we'll keep demonstrating it until they do. After the Zytheran ship departed, Sarah found herself back on the observation deck. Rodriguez joined her, his cybernetic eye whirring as it tracked the refugee ship's departure trajectory. Weird, isn't it? He said. What? Being good at peace. We got really good at war. Adapted. Evolved. Became something terrifying. He laughed bitterly. Turns out peace is harder. Yeah. Sarah watched the ship disappear into FTL. War has clear rules, clear enemies. You know what you're supposed to do. And peace. Peace is complicated, messy, full of contradictions. She thought about the Zytheran youngling she'd helped feed, about its mother's gratitude, about her brother's ghost sitting heavy on her chest. Peace means living with your enemy, helping them, trying not to hate them. Rodriguez was quiet. Then, You think we can do it? Actually become whatever Webb's trying to make us. Sarah thought about the memorial trees on Earth, about 40 million ghosts, about veterans struggling with nightmares and phantom limbs and memories that wouldn't fade, about refugee ships and second chances, and choosing mercy when rage would be easier. I think we have to try, she said finally, because if we don't, if we let the war define us forever, then everyone who died, they died for nothing. Heavy. Yeah. Arya appeared between them, her form casting soft blue light across the viewport. May I share an observation? Go ahead, Sarah said. I have analyzed 17,000 species responses to extended warfare. The pattern is consistent. Victory leads to dominance. Dominance leads to oppression. Oppression leads to rebellion, and the cycle continues. She paused. Humanity is the first species I've observed that seems genuinely interested in breaking that pattern. We're not perfect, Rodriguez said. Trust me, there are plenty of humans who wanted to shoot those refugees on sight. I know. I monitored internal communications. 37% of the crew had to actively override violent impulses. Arya's expression softened, but they did override them. Chose compassion over instinct. That's remarkable. Or stupid, Sarah muttered. Perhaps both. Arya smiled, a learned expression that looked increasingly natural on her holographic features. But I believe Captain Webb is correct. The galaxy is watching, and what they're seeing is unprecedented. A species that learned to be ruthless, efficient killers, and then chose to be something else. What are we becoming? Sarah asked. Arya looked out at the stars, at the vast darkness dotted with lights where countless species watched and waited to see what humanity would do with its hard-won power. You're becoming the ending, she said softly. The end of cycles. The end of automatic revenge. The end of letting trauma define you forever. She turned to face them. You're becoming what the galaxy needs, even if it doesn't know it yet. Proof that war doesn't have to be infinite. That peace is possible. That mercy can coexist with strength. Sarah felt something loosen in her chest. Not forgiveness, exactly, but something like it. Acceptance, maybe. The understanding that carrying her brother's memory didn't mean carrying hate forever. You really believe that? She asked. I'm an AI, Arya said with a slight smile. I believe in data, and the data suggests that humanity's greatest strength isn't your weapons or tactics or stubborn refusal to die. It's your capacity to evolve, to become something different than what you were. Rodriguez laughed. We're a work in progress. All the best things are. That night, in his quarters, Captain Webb recorded a personal log. It was something he'd started after the war, a way to process, to remember, to figure out who he was when he wasn't fighting. Personal log, Captain Marcus Webb, Mercy's Gate, day 1247 of peacetime. Today we helped 3,000 Zytherians, the species that kill my family. That fact should matter more than it does. Maybe I'm broken. Maybe we all are. But I keep thinking about what one of the refugee younglings did. It drew a picture, some kind of Zytherian art, and gave it to Dr. Okonkwo. A thank you gift from something too young to even remember the war, too innocent to carry our hate. And I realized that's what we're fighting for now. Not territory, not resources, not revenge. We're fighting for a future where that youngling never has to learn to hate humans. Where human children never have to learn to hate Zytherians. Or maybe, just maybe, the next generation doesn't inherit our trauma. The galaxy thinks we're weak for showing mercy. Let them. We spent 15 years proving we're dangerous. Now we're proving we're more than our capacity for violence. It's harder than the war was. Every day, every decision, every time someone asks, why help them after what they did? But I remember what I promised at my wife's memorial tree. That her death would mean something. That my daughter's life wouldn't be reduced to a casualty statistic. They died in a war. I refused to let them stay dead in the peace. So we keep going. Keep helping. Keep choosing mercy even when it hurts. Even when it feels impossible. Because that's what humanity became after endless war. We became tired. We became determined to end cycles instead of perpetuating them. We became the species that learned to be monsters, and then chose to be something better. End log. Elsewhere in the galaxy, the Zytheran refugee ship Sanctuary's Hope broadcast its testimony to the neutral zone networks. The Elder's message was simple, factual, almost impossible to believe. We encountered humans in distress. They fed us, healed us, repaired our ship, asked nothing in return. We do not understand the species. We killed them by the millions. They gave us life. The galaxy listened, and slowly, very slowly, some began to wonder if humanity's greatest threat wasn't their weapons, or their tactics, or their stubborn refusal to die. Maybe humanity's greatest threat was their insistence on being merciful when the universe expected monsters. Maybe that was the most dangerous thing of all. Because monsters, the galaxy knew how to fight. But mercy? Mercy changed everything.